Hello everyone, Sigs here, and welcome to a run of the Shadowfang Keep Dungeon as a healer mage in the World of Warcraft Classic Season of Discovery. Now, this run is not narrated, and I would like to do a voiceover explaining what is going on during each pull, but it is very late and I want to get this video out to you guys now, so I'm not going to do that. Stay tuned for some more in-depth healing videos in the future though. What I will do, however, is a quick breakdown of the runes and abilities that I will be using, and you can feel free to hop around in this video if you'd like to see them in action. I'll list some timestamps to the various bosses and parts of the dungeon so that you can find a specific section if you want to. This wasn't the best run in the world. The tank was pulling very conservatively, and I definitely made a few bad mistakes myself, but I think that it's still a good example of the high DPS and HPS that this class can do. So let's go ahead and take a look at our runes to start. Now I am missing some of the quote-unquote best healing runes, but this build is still certainly viable, at least for this level of content. So the first and arguably most important rune here is the regeneration rune for your chest slot. What it is it's a spell that you channel for 3 seconds, which does healing while you're channeling to your target, and also leaves behind a temporal beacon on your target. When you deal arcane damage, 80% of that damage will heal your beacon targets, all of the targets. The healing is not divided. Each individual target will receive 80% of the damage dealt by that arcane spell. It does do reduced damage on yourself, and it does also do reduced healing from arcane explosion. So basically you want to cast this either ahead of time on any target you think may be taking damage within the next 30 seconds, or on any targets who are currently taking damage or that you need to bring back to full health. Now I've found that you do a lot more healing with the actual arcane damage, so usually I will break this cast after about 1 second and just go straight into damaging. However, there are some situations in which you may want to let the entire 3-second cast finish. Namely, if you are not going to have time to cast an arcane spell after the fact, you might as well just let the channel finish to top everybody up. And also, it is quite mana intensive to cast it on multiple targets very quickly. So depending on how the pull is going and how much mana you have, you may want to just let it run for the full 3 seconds to get as much healing out of it as you can if you're not going to be able to do a lot of arcane healing after the fact. The next rune that I'm running is Living Flame, so ultimately this leg rune slot will be replaced with Arcane Surge. However, I don't have Arcane Surge yet. You need Reputation with the Duratar Supply and Logistic faction or the Azeroth Commerce Authority faction if you are Alliance, up to Honored in order to buy that. I don't have that yet, so we're using Living Flame. Living Flame, also quite viable. It deals quite a lot of Spell Flame damage, so that counts as both Arcane and Fire damage, so the damage done will heal because it is arcane damage, 80% of the damage that is dealt. It is a 1-minute cooldown. It does not take a lot of mana. You will cast it on your target. It will send a trail of fire from your character towards that target, and then wherever that target moves, it will leave behind additional puddles of fire for a set duration. Any enemy standing in any of the flame puddles will take the damage, so it is very good in AoE situations. It's a lot of damage and therefore a lot of healing. The one important thing with it is how you position it. I find that it's best to cast at an enemy in the back of the pack so that the line of flame goes through all the enemies leading up to it. Also, you may want to cast it on ranged units that are not going to move so that the tank can move the melee units over on top of the ranged unit. You want it hitting as many targets as possible for big healing. And lastly, we are running Arcane Blast, which is essentially your biggest healing spell. It's your best spell for dealing arcane damage so that you can then heal the targets that have the temporal beacon on them. The way that it works is it's a 2.5 second cast. Every time you cast it, it deals damage, and it will also give you a stacking debuff, increasing the damage of the next arcane spell that you cast. The next other arcane spell that you cast by 15%, as well as increasing the mana cost of Arcane Blast by 175%. So what that means is Arcane Blast does not actually buff itself, so what you want to do is cast it 3 to 4 times, depending on the situation, 1, 2, 3, 4 times to build stacks, and then the next spell that you cast will deal additional damage. So it's very situational how you use this, depending on many factors. You'll see me use it many different ways here, depending on how many enemies are up, how many enemies are left with certain amounts of health. How much mana you have is certainly a very important factor as well, and it's very situational. There's really no hard and fast rule for the best way to spend it. I'm sure mathematically there is, but just given any situation, it's going to be used differently. One thing worth noting is that Arcane Blast up to 3 casts will consume less mana than an Arcane Missiles does. It is the 4th cast of Arcane Blast that will then consume more mana than an Arcane Missiles. So if you want maximum damage, you can just spam Arcane Blast on single target. It will do the most amount of damage, but once you get to that 4th stack, it will be consuming a lot of mana. The more efficient way would be to build to 3 stacks and then cast Arcane Missiles, which at that point will cost less mana than your Arcane Blast. That's the most mana efficient way. It is not the most damaging way. So you'll have to take into consideration how much mana you have, how much health the target has left, and all these other factors when you decide what the best arcane spell at the moment is to cast to get healing onto your temporal beacon targets. Next up, we're going to take a quick look at our talents here. So first of all, Arcane Subtlety, an obvious choice. It's going to reduce your target's resistance to all of your spells, which is great, because if you get resisted, you do no damage, which means you do no healing. And also, it is going to reduce your threat caused by arcane spells by 40%. This is super important because you're generating both DPS aggro as well as healing aggro, so you do tend to generate a lot of aggro, and when you have to do a lot of damage to do a lot of healing to save people, often the enemies are going to turn around and start hitting you. So this 40% reduction is a must, just to have any chance of keeping enemies off you. So definitely a great talent to have here. For our next talent, we're using Arcane Focus. Quite simply reduces the chance that your opponents will resist your arcane spells by 10%. So again, you want to be able to land your spells. You don't want to get resisted. If you get resisted, you do no damage, which means you do no healing. So this talent helps to not be resisted. So very easy decision to pick this talent. Next up, we have Arcane Concentration, which gives you a 2% per point, or 10% at 5 points, chance of entering a clear casting state after any damaging spell hits a target. So the clear casting state reduces the mana cost of your next spell by 100%. This is obviously a very good ability to have. As stated, Arcane Blast, while dealing a lot of damage, also takes a lot of mana, and when you have to do emergency heals, you need to dump a lot of mana. So anything that's going to give us more mana, allow us to do more damage, allow us to do more healing without going is very, very good. So we definitely want Arcane Concentration. And lastly, I have 1 point in Wand Specialization. So most guides that you'll see will tell you to put points into Improved Arcane Missiles, which is that top right talent. It's going to give you a 20% chance per point to avoid interruption caused by damage while channeling Arcane Missiles. This is obviously very good. You don't want to get hit when you're casting Arcane Missiles because it takes quite a bit of mana, and you're going to miss out on perhaps multiple instances of damage from the cast. However, I feel as the healer, I probably shouldn't be getting hit too much, so that talent shouldn't matter, and I went ahead and put a point into Wand Specialization just to help speed up the runs. Now you'll see in this run I do get hit quite a lot, and that has me second guessing my decision. If you are going to be getting hit at all while casting Arcane Missiles, then it is probably more valuable to have your points into that talent, so I will leave that up to you to decide. Again, most guides do recommend that you take the Improved Arcane Missiles, certainly very valuable. I'm just under the impression that if everybody else is doing their job, I as a ranged DPS and a healer, if I'm doing my job, I should not be getting hit. So what's the point of that talent if I'm not getting hit? That's just my thinking. Beyond that, I'm just going to do a quick rundown of my gear here so you can take a look at what we're working with. Anything with spell power, anything with intellect, spirit, arcane damage, healing damage bonus, anything like that is good. Whatever you can get your hands on at this point until you're working on your actual BIS or pre-raid BIS list is going to be fine. So this is what we have, and this is what we're going to be using. And with that, we'll go ahead and get into the run. So as I said, I'm not going to be talking anymore. I'll just let you watch the footage. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. And hopefully in the next day or two here, I can upload a video where I can narrate over what's going on as I'm healing to kind of explain a little bit more in depth. I'd like to do that once I have the full mage build online, so I need a few more runes and some gear and stuff like that. And that can serve as just kind of an all-purpose guide going forward for the rest of Season of Discovery. But for now, this is what we're working with, so this is what we're doing. You can hop around the video. There should be timestamps. So chapter markers on the time bar of the video there, so you could find the section that you want to see if you're looking for something in particular. Again, not the best run in the world, but there are some really cool pulls where you can really see how much damage and healing this class can do. And then I'll come back at the end, we'll do a little breakdown just looking at the overall damage and healing numbers, just so you can kind of see the breakdown of the spells and how much they did, and just kind of how this class stacks up to other classes. And yeah, with that being said, here we go. Let's get into the dungeon. Hope you enjoy the video.
Cast that yet. Power to the Forsaken.
dares interfere with the sons of Arugal? too shall serve.
Charging.
Another falls. Another falls. Another falls. Release your rage. Another fall.
Alrighty, so I'm back. I went ahead and cut out the run back there. Very interesting boss fight, almost ended in disaster. Very clutch save by the other mage there. Did my best to stay alive and try to help finish the boss off. Unfortunately, when he teleported there, I had no idea where he went, and then he hit me with that void bolt. So that was my mistake. Now I know next time that he can actually teleport to that ledge, and then I should watch out for that. But anyways, just wanted to take a quick look at kind of the damage and healing breakdown here to see how it stacks up. So first of all, just wanted to take a look at overall here. So not saying anything about myself or any of the other players or any of the situations in this run, but just looking at it from a very whole perspective, you can see that this class is able to keep up damage-wise with, dedicated DPS classes while also providing additional healing. So that's kind of the main takeaway there. This is a viable DPS spec as much as it is a healer, at least at this level in this situation, in this particular run, so kind of cool to see. And then looking at my specific damage breakdown, you can see the vast majority of the damage is Arcane Blast. Obviously, that is our main spell. We are always ramping Arcane Blast stacks before we're ever doing anything else, so obviously that's going to be the highest damaging ability. Next up, you can see Living Flame, 1 minute cooldown. I didn't get a ton of opportunities in this run to use it. It's best used, I think, on 3+ targets, so I found myself sitting on it often for more than 60 seconds just because we weren't pulling very large, which means I should have just used it even if it's single target. But it is one of our biggest kind of emergency heals on AoE pulls, so I do like sometimes saving it to have it available if needed, but you shouldn't sit on it too long because I could have gotten a lot more damage out of that. But that is quite a good spell. It did a lot of damage, and you can see the rest of the breakdown there as well. And lastly, taking a look at the healing breakdown, you can see our overall healing there, and you can see the vast majority of the healing is actually the chronomantic healing, which is the healing that you do from dealing arcane damage. So a big reason for that disparity is because I don't often channel regeneration for all 3 seconds. I usually just throw it out for 1 tick just to get the temporal beacon out. But the reason that I do that is because it is higher HPS to just get the beacon on somebody and then go back to dealing arcane damage. It speeds the run up. It is obviously way less mana efficient. If you want to be more mana efficient, you should let that regeneration channel for the full 3 seconds, and that will lead to a higher percentage of regeneration healing. However, you'll still find if you're doing it optimally, that the chronomantic healing is still your highest percentage of healing. So that is why I do it that way. It's just the most HPS, and it allows me to get back to damaging quicker to speed up the run. It just means that it's more mana intensive, so that I have to sit and drink more frequently, but usually I can sit and drink at the start of a pull while the tank is kind of grouping everything up anyway. So, you know, by finding those free moments of downtime to regenerate mana, you can then dump that additional mana to speed up the run and do better healing overall. So there's a lot more that I could say and that I would like to say, and as I stated before, I'd like to do like a narrated voiceover of one of these runs where I'm explaining in real time what's happening on any given pull, because there are a lot of different situations that require a lot of different decisions to be made. But I just wanted to get something out. You know, I thought people might want to see this dungeon. I thought people might want to see this mage healing build as it's kind of coming along, as we're approaching max level and starting to get some decent gear here and you know, have pretty good runes to work with. So hopefully you found this video useful in some way, and I hope that you did enjoy it. But that's going to be all for now, so stay tuned for more mage healing videos in the future. But for now, I am out of here, so thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace.